Hey guys, it's Karl, UK Race Director here again for Spartan UK. Just want to come back and give you a few more answers on some of the questions that you sent over. So this time around we're going to be talking improvements. So let's kick off with, will there be improvements in course maps and what will be included? In short, yes, for the majority of the season there will be improvements. So in 2018 we're working hard with venues to confirm our venue maps for approval earlier than we did last year. We're currently in the process of having the first 4 submitted and signed off, which is pretty good news for us, and that just shows the dedication of the team working behind the scenes here to get that to happen. But we have a deadline to get into our graphics team. At the start of last year, we had an external graphics team with much tighter deadlines. We couldn't always meet them, and sometimes there were delays from us or from a venue or from a local authority that restrict that. This year we're using the Spartan internal graphics team. They're based in the US. They do multiple Spartan countries, so they're used to it, but we still have a deadline. We still have a time that we have to submit those course maps. Provided we meet that deadline, and they will go ahead, they will produce our maps, and then we can publish that online for you. So what will they show? Well, our aim is that these course maps that we can publish out to you online, so you can print them. They'll be detailed up and around festivals so you can see them and for spectators can see them. They will show mileage, obstacle count, aid stations, and where we can have them, spectator routes and viewing areas. So we know if you take Aston, Down and Marston, we know our spectators can get out on the course and see some of those obstacles. We do try and keep a lot of our obstacles in festival for spectators to see, but you know, some of those venues where they lend themselves to it, hey, we want to get those guys out on course. We want them to see you further on at different points of the course. So we do work hard to produce these, but sometimes it's out of our hands. If the venue requests changes, area of the course need amending, or we're waiting for approval, we could miss that deadline. And unfortunately, a miss of the deadline means the map doesn't get produced. But hopefully we should have that all detailed and get that over to you and get them published this year a lot easier than we did last year. So, will there be improvements in the festival area for the 2018 season, including showers and activities? We feel in the UK that we've got pretty good at putting on the actual race itself. Our team are now really good at producing the event. Sure, we always look for improvements. We always try and change it and mix things up to give you guys a much more exciting, challenging and Spartan race. But we also, we're looking more at our festival this season. What we really want to do is try and push and make it a big focus for development. Showers will have some investment in their structure, but they're still not going to be hot showers. We're referring to them more as a cold wash because, again, the cost of pulling in hot showers is really expensive. And for the majority, we see that racers don't actually use them. They're really nice when they're there, but they bring in other complications. When everyone's using their soap, that can't just be washed off into the ground, which the majority can't. The water has to be treated. How do we handle that? We have to deal with that. When you're just using water to wash off mud, it's a lot easier for us to take care of because it can just go back on the ground where the mud came from and the water soaks away. And yeah, the ground gets a little bit wet and a little bit sloppy for a while, but it's a lot more manageable. But we will be improving that and just looking again at how we make that an easier structure. Our biggest issue and concern that we had from our side was that the generators always cut out. You know, we were always back and forth to them, but we're trying to resolve that this year and eliminate that issue. So we're also looking at having a few more obstacles for racers to try, SGX coaches in our festival, so they can then do a few things to show you how to get over your rope climb, how to do hook properly, how to get over your 8-foot and 6-foot walls. Any of these obstacles that you're struggling with, you can speak to these SGX guys and they should be able to tell you about it and sort of teach you techniques to get around. We'll have more photo opportunities, a clearer layout of the festival and more signage itself to sort of help you, where are toilets, where are showers, where is bag check, where do you collect your t-shirt from? Always been bag checked, by the way. It's the easiest place for us to get it. T-shirts will be collected from that location as well. Maps will be in there, more, like I said, more direction signage and some activities for families and spectators. We're looking at a few things we can bring in for kids especially. It's amazing seeing families and seeing kids hang out in festival, but I've got a daughter myself. I know exactly how difficult it is to entertain them sometimes without just putting something electronic in front of them. So to have something in festival that will keep them entertained and keep them happy and active is something that we are looking at. And Louise, our kids lead, is leading the way on that and doing a really solid effort with Spartan Kids. So it's a real fine balance for us. It's what adds to the event and what either impacts it or detracts from the event. You can focus so heavily on festival and the festival area that it no longer feels like you're at a Spartan race, you're at a market or you're at that more festival environment. You kind of forget the race is there. But it's trying to get the balance of focusing and improving that festival area while still, so we give the spectators, we give all the people that are there before and after your race, we give you a great experience. So you hang out and we love seeing all you guys hang out in festival and spend more time with us. But also having you guys out on course and make sure the festival doesn't pull away. You know, the worst thing you want to do is come back and go, yeah, the course was all right, festival was fantastic, but you know, the course wasn't that great at all. So we're working to get that balance. And again, feel free to send over any questions, suggestions, and we'll see what we can do with the realm of the possible. So moving on, can we see larger obstacles or a rig in the festival area? And this is a tough one and goes back to what we said before on how we place obstacles. So we try to place them in the best location for the event. This includes giving the race the best course we can and giving spectators the best viewing opportunities we can. Combine this with information about how we locate them with throughput, build locations, access and venue approval. It's tough to sit here and say, yeah, sure, we can do it, or no, we can't. What I can say to you is that during the race, myself and the planning team do a full review of both course and festival before, after and during the race to look at, did this work, did this not? Where do we need to improve? What is our next 5%? And you know, my guys, as I've already said, are used to hearing this. What is our next 5%? What is our next 5% in zone 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on course? What's our next 5% on festival? Can we move that obstacle? Does that work better in finish line and in the festival area than it does elsewhere on course? So we'll do it where possible, and but our obstacles are placed in the best location that we can for the event itself. So will there be an improved or larger multi-rig this year? So we're looking at varying the multi-rig this year, especially between race distances. For 2017, it pretty much stayed the same for the Sprint, Super and the Beast. So again, we can only make it a certain size. The bigger we make it, the more truss and materials we have to transport around to build it bigger. Again, going back to we only have a certain amount of space, then you know we can't always do that. What we are looking to do is just making it a different challenge. So if you race it on the Super or the Beast, it'll be different between those two than if you race it on the Sprint, where it may just be rings, because you know the Sprint is our entry-level race. So stand by, and you know we're always looking at options and improvements, and these are the things that we go through. Our team are in the warehouse in the next couple of weeks to look at how we improve some of our obstacles, and multi-rig is definitely one of them there. And then, will there be new obstacles in 2018 or revamped versions? So we're looking at replacing a number of our standard obstacles. Don't get excited, we're not removing them all completely. We're just updating them so they're fresher, they're up to date with both safety standards, they make our logistics easier, and they'll also just look a better obstacle. Herc hoist, for example, is a bigger obstacle. The weights are heavier. So they sit in line with challenging you guys more. They sit in line with safety improvements that we've made, not just in the UK, but globally. But we currently have no plans to add new obstacles, okay? It's a pretty significant investment that we've made, that we've decided to make sure we can keep up with the standards that we set ourselves. However, our global innovation team are working on a handful of new designs, and once we have these through testing, we can look at rolling out across the world. Remember, we are a global company, so it's not as quick and easy for us to put one obstacle in one location in the UK as it is elsewhere. We have to make sure that the obstacle that we put into the UK and into other areas works around the world. And that makes sure that we can guarantee the safety standard of Spartan Race in every single location around the world. Okay? Again, guys, I hope that's answered everything. If it hasn't, feel free to get back to me. And again, drop more questions over, but we'll be coming up for another video shortly. Take care. Hey, Spartans of the UK. It's Karl, your UK race director here again. I've got another brew, so should you. Let's crack on with a few more questions. First off, We get this one a lot, and it is something that we always work on, but we are restricted by technology, and I'll explain why. Is it possible to change the photographed obstacles this year? In short, we are adding a couple more in at certain races, but it's not as simple as people always think. So, our photo system works by a racer crossing a timing mat at an obstacle. The photographer then takes a picture of the race as we come through. Now, we know the time that you cross the obstacle. That timing chip tells us. We know the time you cross that mat. If that's after an obstacle, we know that 5 seconds before that time, you were probably in the obstacle. If that's if you cross the mat before the obstacle, we know 5 to 10 seconds after you were in the obstacle. And we know your number, which means you can now go online after, you can type your number in, and it will show the you within your obstacles. Now, okay, that page, you may not appear on that first page, but usually go back one page, you go forward one page, you'll find your pictures really easily. So we can give a very small window of photos for a racer to find. So then when it comes to which obstacle, it really depends on the type of photo we want the racer to have. Now, ideally, you want a picture of you during your race, okay? It's great that we are a sport that sort of condones and endorses teamwork and really pushes people to race together as a team. But if your picture is with you and 8 other Joe Blogs that you don't really know, then do you really want that picture? Is that really one that you want to see? Because you don't know who these people are. You want a picture of you during your race, not always of you during any race. So they can dictate which obstacles we want. We want to make sure that we can get you during your race. So if we take rope climb, for instance, looks great. People climbing a rope, it's a great obstacle to have. You look pretty cool up there doing it. You look fantastic. But racers twist on a rope. So if we put the photographer here, you start climbing up there, then all of a sudden you start twisting around, then all of a sudden we get a picture of the back of you. That's all the photographer can get. We can't guarantee we're going to get the front, we'll get the back. Okay? Yeah, you're all now smiling, I'm doing that. But that doesn't look great. I mean, sure, you may look fantastic from the back, but do you know what you look like from the back? Because I can pretty much tell you, most people don't. You won't recognize yourself, but also you're going to share that picture. Are you going to show it? Is that really going to get you likes on Instagram of, hey guys, look at me, this is the back of me doing rope climb? Probably not. So we tend not to have that as a photo obstacle. Others like Herc hoist are kind of similar, but we tend to get that effect of you sort of sat down on your back, pulling on that rope, trying to pull the bag up, with 6 other people, 12 other people that you don't know. So again, we can't give you your race. Monkey bars, multi-rig and twister can work depending on where they are in the course, and we are looking with our photography team this year of how do we put that in? Can we use those obstacles a couple of times during it? But again, depending on where they are, it can be difficult to get pictures that don't have multiple races in and get in focus you as a racer and make it easier to split up into that is your photo. So if we're going to look at things like carries, barbed wire, dunk wall and rolling mud, which are 2 obstacles that will be in some of the UK races this year, and they will be photograph obstacles when they're there, we can filter races across the timing mat, which eases our identification. In addition, it kind of filters races in front of a photographer, which means they now have a better opportunity to get a picture of every racer coming through. If you're in a team, you'll put your arms around each other, which means they can get you as a team. But now our photographer has a chance of getting around 6 to 8 shots of you going through an obstacle. At least a couple of those are going to come out pretty well. Some are blurred, some don't look fantastic, some you're still looking down and you're not actually quite out of the mud yet. But our photographer, they now have a great chance of getting good photos of you during your race, or your team during their race. This process gives us a success rate of around 99%. In addition to that, we always have a photographer which we designate as a roamer. Their job is to cover the course, take multiple photos of every obstacle throughout the day, festival, finish line, and rope climb, Herc, all these obstacles, an A-frame cargo, those sort of things. These obstacles that get missed and we can't necessarily make a photo obstacle, but there's a good chance that we can get a couple of you at other places around the course. So hopefully that explains why we use the obstacles we use. So moving on. Introduction of course referees. How do we see this change in the elite and age group heats? So we moved from competitive to age group this year, which has raised a load of questions amongst people as to firstly why and what is it. So the age group gives our racers a fair opportunity to race competitively and against each other. The elite categories for those who want to push themselves against some of the top OCR racers, not just in the UK, but Europe and globally. We have people travel from around the world to come and race in the UK, and we should be proud of that. The age group is for those who want to do the same, but with a focus being on standing amongst their close and matched peers. You know, I'm 31, whatever way I want to cut it, I'm not the quickest, but I'm not the slowest, but am I really going to be able to keep up with that 19-year-old whippersnapper there? No, I'm not. Do I really want to race against them, knowing that I cannot beat that guy? It's a great challenge, but no, I'm not. Do I want to race against other 30-year-olds that have a chance of coming off pretty well here? Yeah, I would. So I'd register for the age group. But to that extent, we now need to expand the rules and the use of cameras and referees to both the whole elite and age group heats. You know, we have an awards ceremony for all of these after. We have to make sure they're following the same rules. So we trialled the cameras in Windsor last year, and we introduced them at the back end of 2017. And we looked at the process we followed and the people we used to follow that process, both our referees and who reviewed the footage after. And this year, we will be extending the use of cameras and referees across the whole of the elite and age group heats. So bear with us in the first couple of races, because that's a lot of footage that we have to go over. But it means that actually we're going to apply those rules to every single racer. So hey, that 30th burpee that you think you did, but as you're coming out of it, you're getting ready to run, so you don't go to full hip extension and you bolt off. Guess what? Look in the rule book, that's going to get a penalty. That will be applied to everyone, and that podium will be taking place after all of our fines have gone to the timing team. Anyone wants to come and dispute it, discuss it, etc., come find me on race day and we'll have that conversation. What it will change in the elite and age group heats is that any racers who previously raced in competitive wave purely to run early and now race in the age group to do the same will find themselves having the full extent of the rulebook applied to both obstacles and obstacle failure. Hey, you didn't want to race competitively, but now you're going to run in the age group just because you still want to run early, and you're going to go for multi-rig. And when you put your hand on those rings and your feet leave the floor, that's your attempt. If you decide that you may, you know, people doing the open waves of I'm not quite ready, I'm going to step back a second and just reset that. That's a second attempt. That goes against the rules. You failed the obstacle. So the full extent of the rulebook will be applied to obstacles, obstacle failure, burpees, penalties, and DNFs included. So if you don't want to feel those rules applied, you want to race open. Even if you race in the 9 o'clock wave for the more relaxed Spartan experience, yeah, it's still a Spartan experience, but it's a little bit more relaxed. We're going to push you to do burpees. We're going to push you to do the obstacles to the best. And yeah, we want 30 burpees, but do we enforce 30 burpees on the guy who's there because that's his challenge? We have to remind ourselves in the open wave that the 10 burpees that guy's doing may be his equivalent of 30. They may be his challenge, and we have to respect that. But so we're a bit more relaxed in the open wave about the rules when it comes to it, though we do still push them. But they will change the elite and age group heats to align with the rule book and make it a really competitive day. Okay. So then goes on to how will the course referees be trained and instructed. So we aim to have our referees on site on Friday for a briefing, how to complete obstacles, how to identify racers, how to instruct burpees, and how to document missing or correct burpees. These are all the things that they have to do when, or should I say, if you fail an obstacle. And then we have to teach them how will we get all the footage from those obstacles out in the field, brought back to festival, reviewed by referees and the head official, because this year we have recruited a head official. She's a good friend of mine. She works for CrossFit. She's got a great experience and background in sort of judging and the CrossFit Open, regionals, and even up to the CrossFit Games over in the US, and has done for the last few years. So she's very well placed to be able to make these decisions and make these reviews and apply those rules. And we will be applying them strict, okay? She'll know any and all penalties, which gets reviewed by myself before passing to the timing team, okay? Especially DNFs and significant penalties. Okay, we'll go through and yeah, you may have missed one burpee. Your hands may not have gone above your head on a burpee, but you know that will get penalised. But if it's the one, we'll look at it quickly. But the ones that I'm going to really focus on are hey, this guy only did 19 burpees, or this guy didn't do enough burpees, or this guy didn't do any at all. They're the ones that we'll really look at. So we are going to do a video shortly as we get onto our first race at St Clair in the southeast of how a racer should enter a burpee zone, how they should position themselves against the camera, and how they can support the referees and the process to ensure the cleanest pass through possible. I mean, with the exception of not failing the obstacle in the first time, But what can you do as a racer to A, help you get in and do your burpees quicker in terms with the rule book and how burpees should be done, but also help us make these decisions and review this footage in the quickest way possible, okay? So as I said, bear with us for the first, especially the first race, because this is, whilst we trialled it in Windsor, this is still a new process, but it is something that is going to stay for every race, and we'll get better and better and better. You know, the more you do it, repetition makes you better at it, okay? Keep doing that for your obstacles, then we don't have to count any burpees. It's a dream scenario for everyone, right? All right, coming up next, in the next video, we'll be talking about the future of the UK, venues, races, endurance, etc. All right, until then, take care. Bye. Hey, Spartans the UK. It's Karl, your UK race director, back again. So we're just going to go through the last few questions. There are a couple towards the back end of the document that we put together of all your questions that I don't want to miss. And then we'll just have a quick chat about the future of the UK. So first off, are shuttle buses to local stations a possibility? In short, yes, providing there's enough demand. If we know the venues where people want it, we can look at how we do it and what we need. If this is, you know, a handful of people, then it can be really time prohibitive to put it together. The logistics of sourcing, how we operate a schedule for those shuttle buses, and how we put it all together. If actually this is a significant amount of people that want it, and this is a service that people would like to see at our races, then yeah, we will look at it, absolutely. You know, without you at our race, we're essentially, well, we're not a race. So we want to make sure that we give you not just the best racing experience as possible, but make it as easy and efficient for you to get to us as possible. So by all means, let us know, and we may put up a poll shortly online of hey, where do you want a shuttle to go from? You know, which venue do you want it? Do you want it at St Clair down in the southeast? Do you want it in Marston, where actually it's a little further to get out? So look out for that, and we'll see what we can do after. So will there be any workout tours this season? So currently we have nothing scheduled in at the moment for an SGX workout tour, but we are looking at a couple of things throughout the season. What we're also looking at is a bit more, for us, an exciting opportunity to do something on the build-up to a race, particularly on a Friday, where actually we can get you guys in, we can get you actual hands-on experience with SGX coaches and obstacles, particularly around the ones that people really struggle with. So we don't have it nailed down. We're working on that plan, but stick by and stand by for future announcements. But we are hoping that really helps and is something that's a lot more beneficial and a lot more fun and exciting to be a part of than just being in, say, Hyde Park for an hour just doing some burpees. As great as that is, we feel we can deliver something that's a lot more beneficial to you guys as a racer. Can we have the jumbo screen at more events this year? It was great to see so much course footage. Maybe we could do some drone footage as well. So, yeah, it was great for us to get it in. The jumbo screen was fantastic. It wasn't so great to see myself and some of the staff up on that screen, but it was great to see out on the course. And we were pretty excited to have it as well. It's something that we're working on having at more venues. It's difficult to say everyone, but a few factors impact it. And the biggest one is the cost. It does cost a lot more at some venues than it does at others, but it also adds something back. So we're just trying to look at, hey, we have a pot that we can support this. Where's the best one to put it at? Actually, if we put it in a venue where, let's say Marston Lodge, for instance, where actually the course comes in and out of festival quite a lot, and you can see a huge amount of it, does it work better there? Or does it work better at Windsor or at Perth, or some of the venues where actually the spectators don't get to see a huge amount on course, but that screen allows us to bring the course to them? That's not to say that we're not going to have it at Marston. It may be that it comes in. We're also looking at how do we do it properly. The worst thing we want to do is put it up in Windsor was the first time we'd had it for a while. So maybe our operation of it wasn't the slickest it could have been. We had a few hiccups along the way that we want to iron out for next year. A big push for the team this year is to focus on making sure what we deliver to you is delivered well, as opposed to doing something and it needing a lot more improvements after, if that makes sense. So we're working on it. It does make a fantastic addition, and it does definitely add to the spectator aspect of the event and the sport as a whole, particularly when we can show you other things like we had the World Champs during Windsor, and we can show you that footage. So you will see it. Won't be at all races, but it will be at some of them. And drone footage is definitely, we're increasing our bank of drone footage that we have. We started getting a lot of good footage during the 2017 season. You've seen some of it on our ads, and we will continue to increase on that. Especially, you think flying a drone through Death Valley always looks pretty good, especially when we have a route written on the side of the hill. So, are we open to new venue suggestions? How can we suggest options? Absolutely, 100%. We are looking at where can we race next. Maybe not in terms of always of moving a venue, but where can we add races? Where do people want to race? We at the minute we only have sort of 6 event weekends across the UK and Ireland. If we have people that will come to a 7th and 8th and 9th, 10th, we can look at adding those races on. There's nothing worse than adding it on and no one coming to it, because then we have to look at is that a viable option. But if people want to race somewhere, we can look at putting a race on. But the UK isn't the biggest country, but it's not the smallest either. And our planning team is tiny. And by tiny, I mean read 3 of us, okay? We can't cover every potential venue in a small time frame needed. Essentially, once we identify a venue that works or is potential or has potential, it can take us 2 or 3 weeks to look at, yes, this is the sort of race we can get in there. Yes, it works for the next 2, 3, 4 years, however long it is, or what is the lifespan of that venue. Then we come down to the commercial aspects of agreeing contracts with that venue before we can really go on sale. So we have to have it all written down and confirmed with the venue that, yeah, you are good to race here. That can take anywhere from, we've had it wrapped up in a few weeks, to 6, 7, 8 months plus. And that really comes down to commercial and legal teams for the majority making those suggestions. So we try and work on where can we find a venue for either next year or the year after. It's a really big window. And I'm excited that hopefully in the next couple of years, we're in talks with a few locations that we may be able to bring back a few locations. But you guys on the ground can be our eyes and ears here. And we're welcome to any suggestions, especially because you guys are great. You have an advantage over us. You have local knowledge. You live down in the southwest, and by that I'm talking, down sort of Plymouth, Devon way. Then you know what's down there. You know people. You know that terrain. You know where it can be. You drive past the potential venue every single day that we may not even be aware of, and we'll get to it eventually. Our planning team are pretty good at sort of scouring the UK and finding great venues and locations to be in. But like I said, we're small. It takes us a longer time. If you find that you have these ideas, you think, hey, this could be a great venue, then drop whatever information you've got on it to our customer service team, and that's cs@uk.spartan.com. Ask them to forward it on to me, and we'll take a look at it. If we think it could be a viable option, and for this, we look at race population, longevity of the venue, how good a course will be, a dozen other factors, including, and quite importantly, if the venue are even open to talking about thousands of Spartans you guys taking over, because we do leave an impact after. It always recovers, but when we come out of the venue, you can see that we've been there from where you guys have ran, from where we've built, and not every venue is open to sitting and looking at for a month or so while the ground naturally recovers. But we will investigate it. Who knows? You could send us the next legendary Spartan venue. Are there plans to do a Hurricane Heat or a Hurricane Heat 12-hour in Scotland? Not currently, but the Hurricane Heat and the Hurricane Heat 12-hour will typically go where demand wants it to be. If enough people want the event in a location, the team can support its production or make it happen. Okay, and that's the team to actually lead the event, the medical to cover the event, and if we'll get enough people there. Trust me, I've been in the situation of being in that type of event where you're the only person, there's you or one other person, there are 3 or 4 leaders or cadre to that event. It's not a fun place to be, okay? Because all of a sudden, all of their entire focus is on you for the entire duration of the event. It also kind of detracts a little bit away from the experience that you guys get as an event. So again, wherever demand puts it, if we get 20, 30, 40 people that want one in Scotland, we'll go put one on in Scotland. If we get 2 people up there, probably won't happen. If we get 40, 50, 60 people down in Windsor say, hey, we want a Hurricane Heat down here, we'll probably put one on there, okay? Send us your suggestions, show us demand for it, okay? This one comes down to you guys. So, will there be any stadium sprints returning in the future? It's possible, and this is something we look at every year. The biggest 2 factors are the availability of the venue and one that allows us to have the full stadium experience, okay? You don't want a stadium race in a car park. Sure, sometimes we have to use those areas and those tarmac areas to come out of the stadium to make use of them. But what you don't want is, hey, here's the backdrop of the stadium and you're now in a car park and you don't actually ever go inside it. They're a really difficult event to plan and put together, so they take a lot more work than a normal outdoor venue. They also typically cost a lot more, and I'm talking in the region of 8 to 10 times, sometimes even more than a standard outdoor venue. Okay, so we have to take that into account. That being said, they are great fun. If anyone wants to see what a stadium race should feel like, go to my favourite, and that's Fenway Park in Boston. The race there still stands as one of my favourite Spartan races I've ever just been a part of, seen and raced. Okay, so we will look at it, and we're working, and we come back to this every year, but we currently don't have anything nailed down. And finally, are there plans to have more beast races in the future? So for 2018, no, I'll see our calendars out. We don't really want to add to that or change that. But we are always looking for the best locations. So we've kind of answered this a little bit. Some venues lend themselves to sprint and super only, and some to a beast or an ultra. And where we put those races depends on the venue itself. But again, you guys being our eyes and ears on the ground and being Spartans in your local area can quite easily come back and say, hey, I know this location, you could get a fantastic beast in there that we could look at and agree. We won't always agree, but we may agree. If we think a venue can hold a beast and we can get the races to it, then yeah, it becomes a serious contender. But the other side to this is the demand. If we put a beast on and we've got 20 people that want to do it, then it's not really going to be a fantastic beast, and it also becomes really expensive to do and kind of detracts away from putting the rest of the event, the sprint or the super or whatever other races we have, on really well. What we want to do is put on a race where we can get all of you to and give you the full Spartan experience. And sometimes that doesn't always work, so we don't do it. So you show us demand for it, and we'll get a venue for it. If there's enough of you want to do a beast, we'll put beasts on. Let's talk Wales. Let's talk down south. Another one down south. Let's go do one up in York. Let's put one in the Midlands. Let's put them wherever we can put them, that you guys are going to come and race them. Okay. So hopefully through all of those, I've answered all of your questions in the best way possible. And for those of you that's kind of stuck through and listened to me ramble, then well done. You did well. But if there's anything in there that you feel I haven't answered properly, or you don't feel that I've covered, or you've got additional questions, feel free to drop them over. We can keep this going, and the more you guys ask, the more I'll answer, and the more you'll know. All right. Until next time, take care, guys.